I didn't even do the drum thing right. I did like an end of an episode of something.
You did.
That was supposed to be like a rim shot, and it was like bum. That's not a rim shot.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello.
And Danae Hughes.
Yeah, hi.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as
Danae
well.
has made herself laugh.
Well,
sorry.
that was totally a response of, I wasn't paying attention. Oh, yes, I'm supposed to say something. Which...
No, I was trying to think of what I wanted to do, and I went through a whole series of thoughts, and then that's just like my panic. I just said,
I could tell there was some panic in it somewhere. It was beautiful, a beautiful thing. First thing I have in my notes, in big, bold letters, it says, talk about the penis. So we're going to talk a little bit about last week's podcast and the response that Jonathan has been getting online by people saying.
I only got a couple of responses. Maybe you guys got stuff.
So first of all, I didn't get a chance to listen back to the show, so I don't. What are we talking about now?
You remember last week when I said the penises could be beautiful and we shouldn't talk about them, being subjected to us or whatever.
Oh, yes.
And you actually said I think they're quite cool.
That's right, Danae.
Yeah.
I stand behind that.
I wake up Thursday morning, I go on Twitter, and I have a notification, and it's like, so Sam Loomis 13 doesn't like penises. What's wrong with him?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
really?
And I was like, man, this is going to be an interesting day. But no, he was messy. He was totally messy with me. And then,
of course.
One of our other listeners, I don't remember either one of the people that said, I would totally name them, but I just don't remember the names off the top of my head. But one of our other listeners also made a comment that I'm a gay male and I personally find them very attractive. So I was like, yeah, touche.
Yeah. In the end, I'm glad I left it in because we had a conversation. I didn't include it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I didn't include it in the podcast itself, but we did have a conversation. Like I was kind of self-conscious about leaving that in just because I didn't want to make you guys feel like you had done something bad by writing that sin, which you hadn't. I totally get that's a common joke kind of thing. Then Barrett responded that the reason for that sin had more to do with how sickly Cillian Murphy looked in that scene than the fact that he was naked. And I was like, okay, we'll share that. So Barrett is not opposed to the penis. He's opposed to sickly penises. So let's just so everybody's clear on what the subjected is.
No one is opposed to the penis. And I also made the comment on Twitter is like, you could enjoy something but not necessarily find it visually appealing.
Yeah, that's a great
that's
point.
A thing too.
No, that's a great point. And we all have our different perspectives and the way we've grown up and things that influence the way we see things. And
like kiwi fruit, for example.
But I really, honestly, I was joking around. I have no issue with it.
Kiwi fruit, I don't like the way that it feels, but man, it's really good.
See, there you go.
But I didn't get the impression anybody took it in a weird way either.
Not at all.
So
not at all.
People just enjoy. I think they kind of enjoyed it.
Yep.
I think they like that we have those kind of conversations.
I legit thought you were going to talk about having to blur the penis gun in Rick and Morty.
Well, we'll get there too.
That's what I thought. I was like, wow, is this a thing?
It's Penis Talk Part 2.
That's right. When I leave this
there's your cold open
earthly
right
realm, I'm so glad to be known as the guy who had the penis podcast. That's I'll have that right on my tombstone. All right, you guys.
Well, you did decide to call our bonus pod the Bony Pod.
Yeah,
I had a friend in high school that we had to fill out something for the yearbooks or whatever, and it was like, what would you have on your tombstone? And I just remember his was he liked tacos. I always thought that was hilarious for some reason.
That's the other
cook to somebody's tombstone.
That's the other genital.
He meant actual tacos.
Oh,
but yes.
Sorry. All right, let's get into the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sending them, how we felt about the show or movie in general, and welcome to Atkinson Watkins Week on Behind the Sins.
Week 2.
Well,
Right?
the last time it was Jonathan was on everything. I'm not sure Chris was too, but Chris and Jonathan both are on everything this week.
This is the
Music
second week in
Video
a row.
Sins, yeah.
I haven't written on anything, and I know that it's because things fall in the schedule in weird spots, but I feel like maybe it's going to just make me look real lazy.
I was going to say, are you still writing Sins, Danae?
The CinemaSins, which we can talk about, both of the CinemaSins were kind of last minute replacements, and I was the one that was just, you guys were really busy. I was just over here doing nothing, so I said, yeah, give them to me.
And the fans are going to be like, really busy doing what exactly? And this is why this week we're introducing a segment called Behind the Sins, the admin version. So let's talk about the exciting world.
I can assure you, Danae is never not working, and same with Aaron. So
the exciting conversations of managing all of the content flow. This is going to be so interesting.
I may have mentioned this before, but it really reminds me of growing up with a pastor as a dad, and everybody's like, what do you do during the week? All you have to do is get up for 2 hours on a Sunday. It's like, well, there are other things. Besides that video you see online, there are lots of other things that happen. So I'm sure nobody thinks you've gone away, Danae. It's just you haven't written on these scripts for whatever reason.
It's okay. I'll just be over here sad.
Well, you have a couple of don't you have a couple of like Downton Abbey-esque ones that are done but just aren't coming out?
Oh yeah,
right away. Yeah, you got some stuff in the hopper.
Sure, yeah, sure. Of course I do.
Get to the hopper.
But until that happens, let me tell you about how much effort it's taken to put this whole merchandise promo together, and all the work it takes to launch a whole new merchandise store.
I felt terrible, by the way, when you sent that final one out. I was like, hey, just so you know, this video might not come out next week.
Oh my gosh. And I love
but then it ended up coming out. So.
I love how it was after a round of emails where it's like, okay, is there anything we can see wrong with this plan? It looks good. Nope, it looks good.
It was one of those things where the title wasn't on my mind because it was one of these Rick and Morty episodes. It was actually the one we're about to talk about. So
yeah, no, true story.
But everything worked out.
I don't know. Now that I'm hearing us talk about it, I'm pretty confirmed this is the most boring thing we could talk about. But it's
here's the good news,
of my
though.
job.
Here's the good news, Danae. You don't have to sit there and look lonely because you didn't write and I didn't write on a lot of these. We actually get to have the most input. Like we get to view them as the audience, and so
you get to tell me how much I suck. Right?
Yep. All right. Let's get ready.
And then I'll
for
just
this.
blame Chris every time.
That's pretty much,
Chris wrote that one.
That's pretty much. I just had written down Jonathan sucks. That was my entire note process. So I don't know. Now it's just you, Danae.
Bum. I didn't even do the drum thing right. I did like an end of an episode of something.
You did.
That was supposed to be like a rim shot, and it was like bum. That's not a rim shot. Jesus
That's amazing.
Christ.
That's amazing.
Let's
get started with the TV sins. Rick and Morty. We're going on the contemporaneous sinning of Rick and Morty as the season happens. The second episode of technically the seventh episode.
I got the worst episode of the first three by far.
Promortyus, and yes, Chris and Jonathan wrote on this. So yeah, tell me about why you think it's the worst episode of the season so far.
Of the three that they've done this season.
Yeah.
Which we watched the most recent one came out last weekend, which was probably the best one. More on that next week, hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just, I feel like the alien stuff has been done so many times, and I didn't find it particularly fresh here. And then the stuff, I think Chris wrote it. I don't want to take away what Chris said, but just some of the stuff they did with, all of a sudden I forgot the sister's name.
Yeah.
Stacy, Susan, Becky,
Autumn. What's her name?
Keep going.
Summer.
Summer. I was in the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just there was just I don't know. The humor just didn't hit for me for whatever reason with this one.
Here's what Chris
I thought the
said.
toothpick thing was dumb, which I think Chris mentioned. Let's see what Chris said.
Yeah, what Chris had to say.
He said Promortyus : I'm just kidding. I like the story structure.
A man walks in the restaurant. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I like the story structure of starting just after the actual beginning because it gave the episode some surprises, the biggest one being that they left Summer behind. And this may be some of Spencer Grammer's finest work on a character that is underused. My biggest gripe is giving characters a quote-unquote thing, like Jerry's beekeeping and Summer's toothpick, and then making the whole idea of giving characters a thing in itself a thing. The Glorzos have very strong Meeseeks vibes and live to do one thing and die. All in all, I like the episode. I just started craving for the writers to get out of there. I wonder if this is good funk. Favorite thing to sin on the list. Favorite thing to sin on this was Morty's Glorzo getting stuck in the stalactite and getting pulled off of his face. I felt like it was a very MC Escher thing or kind of paradox in animation. Even at a different angle that you can't see in 2D, it doesn't make sense because of how tightly the Glorzo is held onto Morty's face. Anyway, that was a big slow motion frame by frame moment for me.
Yeah. I think I liked it better than the two of you. But then again, I don't necessarily expect the world out of Rick and Morty other than just to laugh at their cleverness and their meta-ness.
I don't know that I do.
And I actually kind of, the thing that Chris is tiring of, and many people are tiring of with the, is this good or not, meta conversation that they're having with themselves. I actually kind of enjoy. I don't know what it is. I think it's kind of fun and clever, and they've already broken the fourth wall so much that it's not like they can repair it. It's not like they're going to go back to some sort of narrative structure that is consistent and solid, and it's already broken. So I'm just enjoying the broken pieces of the fourth wall.
Cool.
So
I've never seen Prometheus, so I had zero context for this at all.
Well, it doesn't really have a ton to do with Prometheus specifically.
It seemed like it, though, right?
Well, it has to do with the Alien franchise in general.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's basically just the outer, like that's just kind of the structure of it. Like they have the face huggers that plant eggs, and outside of that, it's not very alien-esque. But I mean that whole, like, they made some jokes in that, and then you had Rick was clearly very aware of what Alien was, and like he made references to it, but then at the same time he didn't think twice before touching an alien that could kill him or whatever. You know? It was just kind of weird stuff like that. That was kind of what I enjoyed sinning. I'm definitely glad this is one of those episodes though where I'm so glad we have two people on a script, because like I never would have caught the stalactite thing. Like that just wasn't something that registered with me, and I thought that was a great one.
Yeah, and I learned in this one that stalactite is spelled with a C instead of a G. I thought it was stalactite.
I learned
stalactite.
I learned that while narrating. I went
to go look it up. Like, oh no, error has been made.
Me too.
And then it was an educational experience.
It was always stalagmite and stalactite. I just thought they were both stalag.
Same.
But one of them stalac.
Like Stalag 17.
Yes, exactly.
Odd thing in my life in the past month, the whole stalactite, stalagmite thing has come up multiple times. And in each instance, I've repeated how I've remembered which is which, and it has blown someone's mind, which seems so silly because I learned it so long ago. So I'm going to say it here just in case you also don't remember and you listening would like to remember. The stalagmite might grow to the ceiling. The stalactite holds tight to the ceiling. And that's how you can remember.
And if they connect, then
they're a column.
Then you call them a column. Did you notice that Chris had a mnemonic device for the G and the C too?
No.
The C for stalactite is ceiling. The G for stalactite is ground.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Which, of course, would have never made sense if we thought that it was G's on both.
And this has been Cave Education with Behind the Sins.
I don't remember. I'm sure I learned this at some point in my life, but I did not recall it. So when you guys were having this conversation, I was just like, okay. Earlier in the week.
Born and raised in the cave state. There's so many caves in Missouri.
Yeah.
So, I did not know that. I would have thought that would have been Kentucky or something.
No, it's because of the lime rock. We've got a lot of water and lime rock, and so there's tons of caves.
I've had a lot of friends that are cavers, and if you live here, I guess it's easier to go to Kentucky. But yeah, it's not my thing. I don't like enclosed areas. So.
Spelunk that.
Like
I
I've
really
been to
thought
Mammoth
that I
Cave
would.
and I've been to like Ruby Falls and stuff, but those are like touristy.
Yeah.
I've never done anything outside Cumberland Caverns. I've never done anything outside of the tourist type stuff.
Danae, why don't you continue talking about the videos? We kind of go into some of the stuff we liked here.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, Aaron is back as the narrator this week.
Yeah.
So my first kind of thought really too is, how are you feeling now that you've narrated two public ones?
I certainly was dead on with my assessment last week that it wouldn't get serious until the second one and people realized that it was going to happen more often. It was an interesting process because at first there was a lot of confusion and comments and those kind of things. And so I just pinned a comment from CinemaSins at the top, just kind of briefly, explaining what was going on. And that seemed to help quite a bit. And there were a lot of really supportive people jumping in. And so I do feel supported. And there's a lot of people worrying about me, which is really interesting because I'm fine. I'm really fine. I get how YouTube works. I understand what trolls are. So I'm totally good.
Yeah, there were a few that were really aggressive where they were like, fuck you if you don't like the narrator. Fuck you. You're a fucking idiot.
That is
YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an interesting comment read for me because obviously we've been friends for a long time. And so I was feeling like that element of defensiveness coming up. But then that actually kind of quelled pretty quickly when I just was like, this is YouTube. So I think I'm really adjusting to that. There has been talk about, more people being narrating options. There's been chatter on Twitter about it. We've talked about it behind the scenes. And I'm like, man, if they hate Aaron, if I ever narrated anything, holy shit. We'll just.
I don't want to take away a comment, but did you guys see the COVID-19 about Jeremy? That was like, now I'm going to have to look up if Jeremy has COVID-19.
Yeah, that continues to be a thing.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is that it was so fun because there's almost a lot of the ones that were, concerned for the new narrator or, really like just darker statements about unsubbing and this is an atrocity are followed by a flurry of fans that are like, dude, there's reasons. These are people. And so that was really cool. I really liked seeing that we don't have to come to a defensive position at all. It's just, we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing. I saw DQ in the comments, a lot of our Discord friends and people that were at Sin Week, that I just recognize that are in the comments, just being really genuinely good people, not being assholes or anything like that. They're just kind of talking about, this is just how it is. And then the further down you go, it's like, man, I like this new narrator and I dig his voice and this is something I could get used to. So it was a mixed bag for sure. It didn't seem like it was leaning heavy one way or the other.
My favorite comment back and forth in that pinned comment was from, somebody who said, hey, change is hard. It's difficult when something's different, and so different often means you think it's bad. And so he said something like that, and I responded something about, give me 8 years, and maybe I'll be as good as Jeremy, because Jeremy's been doing it for 8 years now. And he said, you've got 2 months.
That's so funny.
I was like, that's the best. That is the best.
That's good stuff.
Gauntlet laid down.
But I guess about the Sin specifically, I really loved the Glorzo thing, just using that as just playing in on that whole, like, what is this word? What are we doing with it? And then the narrator played with that multiple times with different types of ways of using Glorzo. And then the porn and the grandson thing was an interesting thing to point out. That was, I'm like, what about
Chris is, I believe Chris was right though. That is a weird, weird. Even before I started watching Rick and Morty, I heard there was a lot of fan fiction. People are weird, man.
Well, and then one of the comments later down the row as I was searching through said, don't be weirded out about porn and the grandson thing because Rick and Morty are actually the same person. And I was like, wait, what? So
I think that's a weird fan theory. I don't think that's ever even been hinted at.
But it's just funny to think like there's all these theories out there and I don't know, that one kind of made me laugh, which is why I wanted to talk about the awkwardness of porn and grandson. So, but the one that I really loved was the comments about the knife and fork for pancakes because
Thank you. That annoyed me.
It's just one of those funny things you point out, like who eats, with a knife with a.
Well, pancakes are so soft.
You can just use a fork or a spoon even.
Yes.
If you're
But then the
using a
comment
knife,
section.
if you're using a knife for your pancakes, you might as well just stick your pinky finger up and live in a castle. I'm just saying, you can cut them with the fork. You're okay.
There you go.
Well, and if you are going to use a knife, you shouldn't have to go back and forth like 40 times. I mean, what it kind of reminded me of was like in an acting class where you're just like, what do I do with my hands? It's like they were having that issue with the animated characters.
Just
like,
sawing at this pancake.
Yep.
What about you guys? What'd you like?
I'll go next since Jonathan wrote on it. You mentioned pretty much everything I did other than the massive amounts of blurring we had to do in this video. Just so that it would be considered quote unquote ad friendly, which is an interesting little game of whack-a-mole that you have to play on YouTube because you never know what their algorithm is going to consider, not to be ad friendly. And so,
which grandson and son making out ad friendly.
Apparently.
Just FYI.
No, we did end up blurring that, didn't we?
No, it was blurred.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
so
you're right.
that may have been what triggered it. We don't know
mind.
exactly,
We did
but
blur
It's probably all the secretions.
yeah, it is. Well, in Rick and Morty, notoriously is a very phallic show, and not just phallic, but very a genital based artwork show. A lot of the background things, have genital shapes to them. So yeah, it's always it is a game of whack-a-mole on that. So, and it was fun to read the comments and people like, I can't believe they had to blur this thing. I can't believe they had to blur. It's
I
just
know.
like we're doing our best. I promise.
I like how you're saying it's a game of whack it.
Wacka, but yes.
Whack it. Oh, whack-ah. Got it.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Making the joke by not making the joke. I was really glad to see that with the 9/11 stuff because it's like it is actually a trick I learned early on in my broadcasting career that broadcasting people have talked about for a long time is get credit for not saying something. And to see Rick and Morty try to do that with 9/11 was really fascinating to me to watch them be like, we're gonna make a 9/11 joke by pretending we're not making a 9/11 joke. And so I was glad that we kind of called them out on that. And yeah, that's everything else I had pretty much been mentioned. What about you, Jonathan?
Yeah, that was actually my probably my personal favorite part of the episode, like where I laughed the most, because they don't make the 9/11 joke, but then they make the Pearl Harbor joke, and then it cuts to them explaining to the parents why they did that.
Yes,
It was just, I don't know, that whole bit was funny. You guys mentioned most everything. I will say the thing about the what bad story ends in a cape, and then we did Justice League does. I actually wrote us in there too. I wrote Batman v Superman. So that was just kind of funny that Chris and I were both on the same page. But Justice League literally ends on a cape, or right around there.
Right.
Have I just been watching one of those integrated ads this whole time? I thought was really funny. And then we also touched on a little bit the weirdest part of this episode. I feel like Chris and I both came to the conclusion something had to have been cut out of the script or something, because that part where Morty apologizes is so confusing, because it's like it just feels like we're missing something that would lead him to apologize.
Yeah.
Because the only thing there were dead bodies, but he didn't give a shit about dead bodies before that. So I don't know. That was just a weird moment. That was fun to kind of workshop and figure out how we needed to go about sending that.
Well,
yeah,
that's
it's always really fun in
yeah.
the conversations, like when you guys were working on your script and I was following your conversation.
Yeah.
I always find such validation whenever I'm writing something and I reach out to the other one going, is this confusing to you too? And they're like, yup. So it's like, okay, I'm not alone.
Oh man, wait till stories next week about the Rick and Morty. Chris and I had some long conversations about the science quote unquote stuff.
I was going to say, you guys had different opinions, right?
I don't know that we did, actually.
Oh,
When it
okay.
all came down to it, it was yeah. We'll get there next week. How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, for sure. Let's talk about that now.
Archer
Stay tuned.
was the second show from the week. Placebo Effect. This was a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan and I wrote on this. Long live Zima. What did you think? What did you think of this episode, Jonathan?
I think it's really good, actually. I like this about Archer, though they didn't really try to do this too much, but like it takes a very serious subject matter, like somebody going through chemotherapy, trying to get over, Archer has breast cancer. There was like a 3 or 4 episode story arc about this, and this was kind of the final episode.
Which is a real thing. Men can get breast cancer. A lot of people don't realize that, but that is a real thing.
You get cancer anywhere. So I thought it was really well done in the fact that like it's a very serious thing, but they were still able to like transition into jokes from it. Like the whole thing where he finds out he's not taking real chemo medicine, and then he just decides to start taking it, but he's going through chemo as he's trying to get revenge, and I just found that all very fascinating. Mm-hmm. And then even like that last moment where he ends up, finding the guy that was responsible, and he had lost his cancer buddy basically. Mm-hmm. And he has that moment where he's like, did you watch Regis this morning? And then he kills him, and then that immediately transitions into him in the office showing that as a movie to people.
Yeah.
And it becomes a really funny thing. This show is brilliant.
I think the writing's on a whole nother level structurally on this show. Yeah. And this episode's a great example of it. I dig this episode too. Did you have any questions about the episode, Danae, from watching this? I assume you haven't seen the actual episode.
No, I haven't seen it. Drink. But I kind of picked up a little bit, but this explanation from Jonathan was very, very helpful, because it's confusing, obviously, anytime you jump into different elements of a story, but then you couple that with that my experience or exposure is just a Sins video, and it makes it even more confusing.
Yeah.
So...
yeah.
But I do, I have actually watched another episode of Archer, and yeah, I find it really, really interesting.
Are you going to keep watching, you think?
I don't know, because I don't know if I should just start from the beginning and kind of go through.
Yes.
Or if there's like a really cool storyline that kind of comes in, or is it just entertainment, like one-off episodes?
Yeah. No,
I would say, I think watching it from the beginning is a good idea, but I will say after like season 3, they kind of start doing season one-offs, although they do continue into each other, I believe.
And they also
have season-long storylines. And
they do also have a reason that I won't spoil for you that I found really smart. That they were doing those one season offs. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think this is a show that actually has some larger things going on structurally.
That's an attractive thing, obviously, for me. I mean, you think about like Simpsons or something where it's just sort of like these little miniature stories, mm-hmm. and they might have a theme kind of going through, but it's really just mass entertainment. It's not really like something that's captivating.
Yeah, this has continuity for sure. Absolutely. Okay. And then like I said, the one-off season things start getting really fun, because like they do like a Miami Vice season, they do like a Smokey and the Bandit season, they do like a murder mystery season.
Mm-hmm. Space.
Space. It's just it's a lot of fun.
I will say, just as we always try to do with that, whether we are realizing it or not, I do wonder what character I relate to, though.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So in the very limited time I've watched it, I am not I don't know. I would put it on my medium list. But that would imply that I actually keep a list, which I don't. So
well, and all characters have like a lot of times where they stand out, because like I'll watch an episode and be like, oh my god, Pam is hilarious, and then you watch another episode and be like, oh my god, Cheryl's hilarious. It's like they do a really good job of kind of giving them all something to do, and their voice, like the cast is so perfectly. It was so well cast with the actors doing the roles.
That is something that I really appreciate. Is I love how it's drawn, and I really love the voice acting. And obviously the clever writing and things like that I can really get into. So
I'm surprised you don't connect to Lana more. She seems to have your same kind of attitude towards.
Yeah, for sure.
That is not.
And you just walk around in underwear all the time.
I mean, that is my exact body type. I really relate to her outfits as well. Those mini skirts, while also being a spy. Guns, I have those.
Her cynicism towards the world around her.
Aisha Tyler, Aisha Tyler is so good in that role.
Yeah, she's great.
Like she's so funny.
And that's where I'm lacking, because I haven't seen enough where I even knew who she was super quickly. I was like, oh wait, which one's that?
Right.
And so,
she's just rolling her eyes a lot, and I see you do that to me. So,
I'm really good at rolling my eyes.
Yeah,
sure.
They have a really deep supporting cast too, because which Krieger, I guess, becomes more of a main character eventually, but like he's really funny. Barry is another one that Barry's pretty great, but it's so good.
What do you think about the video, Danae?
Well, it was funny you mentioned Zima. So Zima, I have the funniest story about Zima. And so this totally reminded me of that. So I'm going to tell you a quick story
Well,
that has nothing to do.
This script is, 70% Zima jokes. So, so it fits.
Because, I mean, it's Zima. How can you not be a joke?
Yeah.
So when I was I think I was in like middle school or something, and there was a friend of mine that came over to spend the night, and she was like a wild child. She smoked cigarettes already because her parents smoked cigarettes. So she brought like her mom's cigarettes for us to try. And we left the house at like 11 o'clock at night. I was a horrible nightmare person growing up. My parents, God bless them, they had a hard time with me. Anyways, we left the house at like 11 o'clock at night, and we just went wandering around. And there was like this local park that was nearby where we lived, and we went to the park, and there in the bushes was a brown bag. We decided to open it up. That was dumb. Inside was Zima, unopened. So we decided to steal whoever's beer had like obviously put it there to come back for later. So we stole a Zima, and I had my first drink of alcohol and my first cigarette that night. Then we were paranoid we were going to get in trouble. A police car randomly drove by the park, so we really thought we were going to be in trouble. This is a true story. And then we decided to just run for it because, of course, we're going to get caught. So we start charging through the dark park, and we go down this ditch and through the series of bushes, and on the other side was a trailer park where we literally run right into someone's trailer park yard where an old man is sitting in front of a fire with hot dogs making like a late night snack. And he looks at both of us girls and he goes, "Well, hey there, girls. You want a hot dog?"
I hope he meant hot dog.
We're both afraid to go back the way we came from because there's a police officer there, terrified of this person in front of us.
But you're also kind of hungry, right? So
we're also kind of hungry. We also sort of want to try this beer again, and we still have cigarettes. So we awkwardly stood there, I don't know, maybe like a minute, not long. And then we just sort of like, okay, bye. And then we ran back found our way back home, and eventually went to sleep and pretended like nothing happened. And that's my Zima story.
Nice. Well, middle school is when you should drink Zima, so that makes sense.
It was dumb.
No, it is not.
So dumb.
Middle
no,
schoolers.
It's really not.
Don't listen to Jonathan.
Like,
well, does Zima exist?
What kind of a dumb
do they make it
person
still?
Drinks alcohol they find in a bush? Like
middle schoolers.
I guess so. It's amazing I'm still alive.
You kept referring to Zima as a beer. I thought the whole point of Zima was that it wasn't beer.
It's basically it's kind of a wine cooler / beer.
Yeah,
scenario.
It was a weird flavor. I remember that for sure. And it was clear. It was a clear liquid as well.
Yeah.
So, other ones that I really enjoyed that didn't bring up memories. Good, because it was the knife which I push into your urethra, and then all I hear is foreplay joke. That was good. And then the moment where I remember who was doing it, but they're making this crazy sound, and the Sin is like getting pumped up for a rock movie. I genuinely cracked up at that one.
Yeah, because he said rampage, right? He goes, rampage! Like, and then Aaron wrote something about getting pumped up for a rock movie. Hey, real quick, though, Zima is a clear, lightly carbonated alcoholic beverage made and distributed by the Coors Brewing Company. It was marketed as an alternative to beer.
That's what I thought.
It is an example of what is now often referred to as a cooler.
Yes.
So it's kind of a wine cooler type thing.
Very nice.
Sorry to interrupt.
Do you have any others, Danae?
Nope.
The only one that we haven't really talked about that I wanted to talk. Well, I did like the Surf Nazis Must Die reference that Jonathan put in there. I thought that was great. And then the Family Feud section of this episode is one of my favorite sections. And again, big lights go off in my head anytime there's any kind of game show or board game or anything. And the fact that they were playing the back and forth, and then he told Lana about being in the isolation booth. And I'm like, why is anybody in an isolation booth? You're doing the back and forth part of Family Feud. Come on. Anyhow, that made me happy. What about you, Jonathan?
Well, I forgot about that too. Like, I mean, or maybe it was in my subconscious, because this was another one of those weird things where Danae and I just wrote a script for a show that I used a Family Feud joke. Yeah. And then I completely forgot we did it on this one until I went back and reviewed it. I was like, I wonder if I subconsciously, it's different, but it's still a Family Feud reference. And it's a random one too. Like, it doesn't even, I don't know. That'll be interesting to talk about. But when we get to it, what did you guys have mentioned most of it. Just the Zima thing. Did we mention the one that Chris wrote though about the no respecting alky would call Zima fun?
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We made fun of the whole Rambo moment thing, which I'm so tired of that. Like people gearing up for battle. That's just become such a cliche. So I was really glad I got to make a joke about that. But no, this has been a really fun show to do. It's really cool that all these animated shows have worked out, because I know like a year ago we thought we wouldn't be able to do animated shows.
Yeah, and they turn out to be some of them.
And now we've done a ton of them.
Yeah, turn out to be some of the most requested stuff.
Yeah.
People like it. So, yeah. Speaking of most requested stuff, let's talk about Baby Shark on Music Video Sins. Pinkfong.
Did Danae watch this?
Okay, so I have actually seen the Baby Shark video before because, well, I have a little one, but we very purposefully did not play it for her often. I think that I know of, she's seen it in our house 2 times because I didn't want it to become the earworm thing that it is. And so it had been on in the background, and I was like, oh, I've got this. And so I did. I started watching this one. This is a different video. The company must release multiple versions because this one is a newer one. The one that I've seen like a couple years ago, the little kids are a little younger in it, and it definitely looks different. So
yeah, I did remember this when I
I've lost my freaking mind, which makes sense because Baby Shark is this. It's a franchise, like it's a moneymaker.
It blows my mind. And this is what I'll say about the song itself. We were singing this song in middle school at camp.
Yeah. This is like a camp song.
This is a camp song that's been around forever. And then this blew up a couple years ago, and I'm going, what is happening here? Like, I just, it's weird how stuff all of a sudden becomes viral.
Yeah, but you were singing, to be fair, at your camp, you were singing Jesus Shark. So
no, that song is with Jesus in the boat, you can smile in the storm. That's the Baby Shark.
That, actually.
Somebody needs to do the electro version of With Jesus in the Boat and see if that goes viral like the Baby Shark has, because it's the same concept as Baby Shark. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I good for them, I guess. I can't believe that this camp song has somehow become an industry.
It's the power of the earworm, and also the power of when the kids watching YouTube videos. And Iris, to any child, repetition is something that they crave because that makes the brain connections. And so of course they can watch a video over and over and over again, or listen to a song over and over and over again. And it's very important for memory and for all this kind of stuff, which when you couple that with a viral video or with an earworm video or whatever, I mean, it was bound to be, whoever did it was bound to be something that kids really gravitated towards.
Yeah, my daughter gravitated towards What Did the Fox Say? And so
that one's fun, though. I like What Did the Fox Say? Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. It's an easy song. You know what? Honestly, it was a welcome change from all of the booty shaking. Not gonna lie. Grandma Danae's tired of seeing naked butts.
That would have been weird if there had been booty shaking in this.
And I don't know. I had a really good time. But then there was this one point where the sharks go from just sort of like swimming left and right, where they start swimming face on. And I immediately was like, I felt my panic start to rise. I thought, no, I can do this. And I put my hand kind of up on the screen. And then all of a sudden it was just, it got really close to the tipping point for me. So before I broke out into a sweat and then had to do meditation and like take half of a day or whatever, which it wouldn't always be that intense, but man, sharks just fucking freak me out. So I did have to end my video experience, but I got to see some sins that I really enjoyed. So
yeah, why don't you talk about those?
Well, I got to hear Barrett singing "Shallow," so that's just a wonderful thing. I also like that he points out that this is a song that instantly creates terror, but for the reason of it being repeated, which is sort of a fun kind of play on things. Just pointing out all of the reasons, like where scuba masks should work, and the animation of the fox and the fur and getting a tight seal, and the kids being easy prey, the grandma with glasses, and obviously she has insurance, so she would definitely have teeth. Just it sounded like he was just having a lot of fun playing around with this one. So it was just kind of a fun change, and I really had a good time watching what I could watch.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had just a couple things. The pink water indicating that a bloodbath was happening somewhere made me laugh quite a bit. I had the observation of that they were wearing floaty things underwater. Made no sense. And then perhaps the biggest sin of this song that is pointed out for me is that there is a verse about running away underwater. You don't run away from a shark. You swim away from a shark. Like, I'd
be doing whatever the fuck I could, man. Every part of my body would be moving.
It's just such a, like, and it's not like there are different amounts of syllables. You could sing swim away as easily as you could sing run away. It's such a weird thing that verse is run away. Anyhow, that's kind of what I took from it. What about you, Jonathan?
Well, just going off the water turning pink, I love the fact that there was like a couple of sins that were basically like, none of the kids get eaten. And like we send that.
yeah.
That the kids were not eaten by the sharks. And then Danae brought up the singing shallow, which I think was probably my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's fun to hear him cut up a little bit and just let loose.
Yeah.
And then just the whole thing where he was naming all the other people with the sharks, like Uncle Billy's special friend, Millie Shark or whatever, all that was really fun. And I could tell he had a blast doing this one.
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't like, oh, there's more butts that I have to send.
I don't know.
What Danae said.
I think Booty Shark would have been a fine verse. Been a fine verse.
I think Nicki Minaj should look into that.
Yep. All right, let's move on to CinemaSins. Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. Yes, it's an Atkinson-Watkins script. This is the second Scooby-Doo movie, as indicated by the title, with this cast. I thought I had seen this, and then as I was watching the Sins video, I was like, I don't know that I've seen this. So it was kind of a weird experience for me. It all runs together, those Scooby-Doo movies.
Yeah, we send Barrett and I actually wrote the script for the first one a couple years. Well, it was I don't remember what was getting released that week. There was something. It wasn't Scooby-Doo, but it was something that it was tying into. But that was a couple years ago, and that was a lot of fun to do. And I actually kind of dig that first movie a little bit. Like, I mean, it's not great. But if it's a movie your kid wants to watch over and over, there are many worse ones. But I've never really liked this one.
It looks.
I don't know. It just doesn't work.
It looks just like it's bonkers. It just looks like they didn't care about anything other than just cracking jokes, which is fine.
This was a problem. Yeah, this was a problem with the first one too. It's like they didn't really know if. And Chris and I recorded which it should be out before this drops, maybe not. But Chris and I just recorded a mini pod on the new movie Scoob, and we talk about this on there too. So if you hear that and this, you'll hear this twice. But those movies really don't seem to know if they want to go like full on parody, like the Brady Bunch movies did.
I thought that's where they were headed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but then also they kind of want to be taken seriously. Like a lot of it's pretty straightforward. So I think it's just an interesting. I think it's just a mix that doesn't really work. Like they never really commit either way. Yeah. And like James Gunn wrote these movies. I mean, there's some stuff behind these movies that would make them seem like they should be better than they are.
Well, I mean, we've been accused of the exact same thing of not, of trying to be a parody and be serious at the same time. Yeah. So
yes, these movies are CinemaSins. but just it's not a very good movie. It has its moments. I do like that they pay homage to the original series and they have a lot of the ghosts, the costumes. They mention a lot of the creatures from the past and they use a lot of them in the plot. That's kind of fun, and Matthew Lillard, who we give a send off to, is just so great in that role.
He's perfect. He's just perfect.
That scene where we gave the send off, I love that. He just every freaking day of my life. He just nails that line delivery, which makes I get that this is all just a business, and I'm sure they had the reason, but one of the huge mistakes that Scoob makes is putting Will Forte in as a voice and not Matthew Lillard. Yeah. That is a huge mistake for that movie, but that's a whole other conversation that you can listen to me on a different podcast app. But so it's not a very good movie, but it was really fun to send. I never get tired of Scooby-Doo, so.
Well, let's go into the sins.
I think, did Chris say something though?
Oh, did Chris have something to say?
Yeah, and does Danae have anything to say? God, Aaron.
Oh, have you seen this movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
But we need to take a drink moment.
Hey, if we need that moment on every one, I just was 100% sure.
Listening to our podcast, maybe that's why people like our podcast, because they're drunk by 30 minutes in.
God.
I was just 100% sure you hadn't seen it, so
Oh my God.
What did Chris?
Have you seen the other one?
No, I haven't. But I know like visually what the actors and actresses look like, like representing these characters. But but this is my first time watching enough clips that I sort of had a general sense of what it would feel like and be like, the colors and the costumes and sort of the world. And obviously it looked like it was really easy to sin. But I had a genuinely great time watching Shaggy, the Lilith guy.
Lillard, yeah, Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lillard is so underappreciated in general. I think he's great in stuff.
Yeah, God.
He's great in The Descendants. He plays.
He's excellent in The Descendants.
I'm a huge Matthew Lillard guy, and I think he puts all his effort, like the Sin says, into this, and it's just great.
He's that character. Shaggy is such an interesting character, and to nail the voice, and then also the animated facial expressions. I don't know. I was really liking that.
He was genuinely hurt they didn't cast him for Scoob.
I get it.
He was like, I felt, he's like, you're not even going to call me?
He handled it really well, though. Like, he has been so professional and really good about it. But you can tell, he's hurt a little bit. And I get it.
Here's what Chris had to say. He said, I know I saw the first one in theaters, but I could not remember if I saw this one. I was working at Hollywood 27 at the time, but just don't remember if I saw it. It's an awful Scooby adventure. It's a bad, self-aware parody. The jokes about itself don't land. And favorite things to sin, though, were the fact that the Peter Boyle villain has multiple prison balls in his house that use fingerprint ID to get unlocked, and the mystery ink is the third such ball, and there just happens to be a fresh fingerprint on it. Piod's basically saying that he gets hundreds of unwanted visitors frequently for that to be true. My favorite thing to check on was Alicia Silverstone's cameraman during the unmasking. The claim is that since Daphne was accusing her of being the villain, that he needed to cover for her and become the villain in that scene, but Daphne doesn't make her accusation until he's long out of the frame. It's just one of those moments. It's just one of my favorite things I've ever found. Also, here's some behind the scenes. Sometimes reading people's comments is hard. I just want to let you know. I do my best. Also, here's some behind the scenes. The version Jonathan and I watched used KFC product placement. We both had to watch the movie on streaming services, but the version for our editors was for a different country, and they used Burger King and wiped out 2 whole sins that were written for that video.
Yeah, I thought I had lost my mind when I was reviewing that edit. I was so confused. I was like, I guess I'm an idiot, and this is actually Burger King. And
it's on like a cup or something at the very beginning.
And then and then Chris had written one too, which I had forgotten, and then I made the notes before he did, so I didn't see his notes where he explained it. And then so when he wrote that today or sent that information to you, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, like I remember,
I'm not insane.
Yeah, he in the comments on the video, on the editing, he wrote, I happened to see it, that apparently there's different for the other country releases, it was Burger King cup instead of KFC cup. And I was looking at the edit going, man, that just looks like it's all CGI on the physical cup, which why would it need to be? And then it makes sense. I guess they just had different
I guess so.
Sponsors.
Because my sin had to do with the fact that Scooby had a shake in a KFC cup. And I was like, who the fuck gets a milkshake from KFC? And I did look it up that they did at some point have a kind of a shake, but it wasn't like a traditional shake like what it looked like in the movie. So I thought that was sin. And then when I saw it on the editor's copy, it was like it was Burger King. And I'm like, oh, well, never mind. I guess we need to take that out.
KFC is a donut shop now, if I'm to believe what I'm hearing. They sell donuts now.
Aren't they? Yeah, donut sandwiches or something. Isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
Ugh.
What?
Just give more people diabetes.
Thank
you, KFC.
They sell donuts, and they also sell a donut chicken sandwich with the chicken in between the 2 halves of the donut.
No, thank you.
Hey, you don't have to convince me.
They were the ones too there for a while that had the sandwich that was 2 pieces of chicken were the buns.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. That was so weird.
Yeah, I tried that once. I ate about 2 bites, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't right.
No.
It's just something about it. Like it was a texture thing. It was just, this isn't like how a sandwich should be. So
Nice.
I couldn't finish it, but
Nice. Now, Danae, do you want to talk about some of the sins? Now that I'm sorry that I ignored your vast Scooby knowledge, and
That's all right.
I will learn from my mistakes. What do you have about the sins video?
Getting kicked right in the round tables, but then pointing out that they'd be surfaces, not balls. Really enjoyed the whole thing. I also just liked how the sins revealed, like, just the cleverness of how everything was written, that this entire town turns against the beloved heroes when costumes go missing. Like, this is the big plot, you know, and how very shallow that seems to be. One of my favorite sins was, like, just to let you know, since they've entered the bar, the runtime has approximately been 7 hours.
oh, that scene! Oh my god, that scene goes on forever, and it's not good.
Pointing out that bushes were killed and when they were uprooted just for traveling purposes. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but it was just really, really funny.
Because it's ridiculous. Once again, a movie that's trying to be like kind of serious has a scene like that, and you're just like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be thinking right now.
I had two other ones that I really loved. One was the comment is that was Shaggy says something like after taking a whole bunch of drugs in that like laboratory scene or whatever. It was that was almost like my freshman year in college, and the Sin's just like college, jabbing at his intellect.
Yeah, we had a couple of different things at that point. I think Chris wrote that one though. That I was like, yeah, that was funny.
I think though the one that I laughed the hardest at was when Velma says, "I always wanted to be like you guys," and the Sin was like, "That's a ticket, Velma. Shaggy's too stupid to realize you're lying."
Oh my god!
It was such a burn, and just what a clever, horrible twist. And I'm an evil person, and I laughed really hard at that one.
Before I go into my favorite sins, I'd just like to point out that all the actors are of age, and I am okay being attracted to them.
There you go.
Yeah, you can be attracted to Sarah Michelle Gellar and Linda Cardellini. Okay.
For sure. Anyhow, and Freddie Prinze Jr. For that matter, and Matthew Lillard.
Absolutely. And Scooby. Wait.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm not.
He's a really.
And Alicia Silverstone is what I meant to say.
Wait.
Speaking of Alicia,
I was thinking Shaggy, not Scooby. That's weird. Yeah, just cut that out.
Can I say that Alicia Silverstone is one of those, like, not that I've ever thought she was ugly by any means. She's very pretty, but I don't know. She's one of those women that I've gotten to appreciate the older I've gotten.
Oh, interesting.
She's like aged wine.
The comments, the sins, I should say, that I wanted to bring up, the Chew Toy thing was hilarious to me, especially at the end where it's like, let us know in the comments below. That's so great. I want to do that joke more. The something glass houses, something Lily Sobieski, was
awesome.
Great. I loved that. The way Jeremy delivered the sigh, the first one where he just said it like confidently, almost like sigh. You know, or
yeah, that was in the script. That was actually Chris wrote, "Say this," like don't just sigh, like actually say this. And it was great.
I love that. Unobtainium alert. I thought was great. The Alicia Silverstone run was super impressive. Just to get all of those in there was great. Presidential health advice made me laugh. Talkings for wimps and also for better screenplays. It was really clever. I like that. There's a lot of good stuff in this one. I had a good time with it.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. What about you, Jonathan?
You guys mentioned just about everything. The one thing I did find funny, because like Linda Cardellini is used so poorly in this movie. Like the things they make her do in this movie are terrible. And there was that one point where, like, I think is it when she's, I can't remember which exact point it is. It might be when she's dressed up in the leather and she like makes the fart noise or whatever. And then we just wrote, I hope they paid Linda Cardellini $20 million to be in this movie. Because you feel so bad for her the whole time. And,
I love
it. Yeah, go ahead.
I love the trifecta, the kids movie cliche trifecta.
Yes.
Which is a great observation, but I also love it because I just finished sitting a kids movie that we will eventually talk about, and I was like, "Yep, trifecta achieved."
Dude, same.
Terrible.
Same. Like that's happening to me on a script as well.
Yeah.
What was the third thing though? I don't remember what we said.
Making fun of old people. I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
Oh, and I also like we made the comment about, because this is a PG movie, it's doing that weird thing where it's making weed jokes, but there's no weed.
Yeah.
The first one's a lot worse than this one at doing that, but they do that whole thing where Shaggy's friends are clearly fans are clearly like stoners.
Yeah.
But but there's nothing around them, so that was fun.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. Let's move on to Spies in Disguise, another Atkinson Watkins script. Chris and
we do the kids movies.
Jonathan.
Actually, that's not true, but we did these.
Spies in Disguise is a much better movie than it has any right to be, I think. I really enjoyed it, even though as I was watching, it was like, oh, we are going to eat this movie alive with our Sins video. And I'm just like, but I'm still having a good time. And I don't know if a lot of that has to do with just the general likability of the voice actors in it, because they are all just very likable and deliver their stuff in ways that I'm just like pleased with. I just enjoy going along with them. Will Smith specifically. But yeah, I kind of had a good time with this movie. What did you think?
Have you seen it, Danae?
Nope.
This was the second time I had seen it. I took my daughter to see it in the theater, and I enjoyed it fine, like you. And it was about the same the second time. I think the only thing about this movie that's kind of irritating is that I think it could be a lot better.
Yes, I agree with that.
I think it plays it pretty safe. I think there's a lot more they could do with the premise. But for what it is, I mean, yeah, it's fine. I think it's blue sky, right? They love birds. But like, I don't really like the Rio movies, and I guess Ice Age is Ice Age them?
I believe so.
Yeah, because it starts off. I think their late logo is the Ice Age thing. But they did the Peanuts movie, which I liked.
I do like the Peanuts movie.
I thought this was kind of on the same level as that. You can't really. I mean, I think it's one that adults will enjoy watching with their children more than a lot of these.
Yeah.
So for that, I give it credit.
It kind of reminded me, and I don't think it's nearly as well written as the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs movies, but it kind of the humor reminded me of.
Yes.
Oh, they're comfortable with the humor they're doing. They get what they are, and it's definitely different than Pixar humor, and it's even different than DreamWorks humor. It's kind of its own feel, and
I agree. No, I agree with that. I think the main character in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is very similar to the main character in this.
Yes.
I think that's where I'm definitely getting it kind of feels similar. And I do think that, God, all of a sudden I can't remember his name though. Who plays Spider-Man?
Tom Holland.
I think I like him in animated movies. Because he's Onward, right?
Yes. Yeah, him and Chris Pratt.
I think he's got a good voice for these, and actually conveys a good performance.
Yep.
So I hope he keeps doing them. And I mean, Will Smith's always funny.
Yeah. Danae, did Chris have anything to say about this one as well?
Oh, you know it, and thank God. Otherwise, I'd have nothing to do this entire episode.
That's not true. You're talking about the videos.
Yeah, and I have another story to share with you.
Oh, fun!
Yeah, so we had a Zima story, and now we're gonna have a Ghibli story here in a moment.
A Ghibli story, good.
Chris says, "Spies in Disguise: not a terrible movie by any means, just a kind of average animated spy movie with an off-the-wall premise." Can I just ask, the off-the-wall premise is that the creative tech guy is not creating like things that kill, but more things that are cute and fun?
He can turn somebody into a pigeon.
And he turned somebody into a pigeon. Yes.
I noticed. Will Smith voices a spy who wants to do it all on his own, and he's accidentally turned into a pigeon by nerdy Tom Holland. I got a little upset at the continuing trope of killing off a character's parents, especially here, since it didn't do much to inform us of Holland's character. I haven't been so sure a mother character was going to die in my life. She's super nice, encourages everything her kid does, and she's a cop. She dies off screen, and we don't see how it impacts his character at all because 14 years pass after we see her.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. My favorite thing to sin, these are so hard to make clear in a Sins video, is why the villain is hiding behind his stone structure to clothesline Holland's motorcycle.
It's a great observation.
It's at times like these in movies that I love to see every step the villain takes to get to that moment Was that his plan? Was that a spur of the moment thing? And Holland obliges by driving so close to the structure when he has gobs of space to the left side. He could have easily driven through, and it works out for the villain.
Yeah. I loved that scene. That was one of my favorites. I definitely had that noted to talk about. I guess I'll just kind of continue talking about some of the other stuff. First of all, very first sin, shots fired on Isaiah Thomas, and we need to talk about that. I have a feeling the person
was Chris.
Was it Chris?
Yeah, I don't think he intended it towards you either. I just think.
He did. Oh no, he definitely did. That's from another video. And
he did actually. Sorry, he had a note for me saying, "By the way, this is referring to another video." I remember this now. Go ahead.
So what's funny is that video isn't out yet.
Yeah,
so
no, it's not.
He's returning fire on original shots that have never even been fired yet. They're still in the gun. Those bullets haven't even left. So I did find that interesting. Yes, I'm a Pistons fan. Yes, I'm bitter that Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the Dream Team, and yes, I snuck that into a script somewhere, and so he put that in here.
And you have piston pants.
That is true. That is definitely true. The other immediately shots fired against purple sweaters, which I thought was hilarious.
That guy just bugged me. I don't know why. It was just
it was a purple sweater,
It just bugged me.
I also really, really liked Scottish Karen Gillan. That slayed me because immediately I didn't even have to look. I knew there was a comment towards the top of the comments that was going to be, you mean like Karen Gillan is Scottish? Duh. Yes. And I was so pleased when I opened up that comment, which is there, by the way, and has like 1.2 thousand likes on it. The first several, like, I think that's the joke in, r/whoosh, which is one of my favorite things as well for missing a joke. So I loved that whole thing. And then let's see, but I'm not gonna. I liked Not a Couch. Made me laugh quite a bit because it was just so quick. It was like, not a couch. And then if you're animating a kid's movie, like we talked about, Oh, you're talking
about the slow motion?
Oh,
you're talking
yes,
about the cliche?
Yes, Clippy. Clippy. I should have just wrote Clippy. Yes, the Clippy stuff was so great. In the fact that they actually had Clippy come out the second time that it happened was just beautiful.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And then the other thing I had to mention was the Get Out outtake, which I just thought was perfect. So yeah, I liked that quite a bit.
What outtake was it? What part of Get Out were we doing?
Where it's like you're sinking into the floor.
Yeah, that was funny.
And it just fits so perfectly. I really enjoyed that.
Nice.
What about you guys? What about you, Jonathan? I think you're the only one who hasn't.
Did we mention Socio Pigeon? Did you say that one, Aaron? I didn't hear you if you did.
No, I didn't.
I thought that was very funny.
Actually, Danae, you haven't talked about this video yet either, have you?
I'm the forgotten person this episode. It's
no,
okay.
No,
it's fine.
No.
No, it's okay. I'll just be over here.
Jonathan, have you seen this movie?
Jonathan, why don't you go first?
No, please tell me what you liked because I don't want to take any of yours away.
Me?
Yes.
No, you go ahead. I'll go last.
I didn't really. Aaron covered most of what I talked about. The only thing I had, the part where it was like, did they really not give him an objective to the mission? Where like he's in the middle of the mission, and they're like, "That's what you're supposed to get."
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about when I was watching this. I'm just like, we are going to chew this movie up and spit it out. Like it is.
Well, and you didn't
so
even
bad.
mention the cloaca, which is just that was just nuts that they talked about cloaca so much in that movie.
Oh yeah, it was a major plot
point. And the only time I've ever even heard that mentioned was on the Sincast.
Yep, it's a major plot point here.
I did like the Sincast mention though in the video as a sin. And let's do a sneak peek. When we relaunch our store, y'all know we're having a merch sale right now. When we relaunch our store, there's gonna be a cloaca shirt for Sincast, and I'm really excited about it.
And now I'm hoping that Spies in Disguise doesn't sue us.
We were there first.
That's true. We were definitely there first. No, I mean, yeah, when I heard that, I had forgotten about it, and then I heard it, I was like, oh my god. I was like, and I knew Chris was going to write something better than me, but I went ahead and tried, and he definitely better than me. So.
Yeah, I'm used to that by now.
What about you, Danae?
Oh my gosh, I wrote down quite a few that I really enjoyed. The 1,348 is the highest number that the narrator could think of. I really liked I guess 2019 was the year for drones, and I was just thinking, oh my God, just wait until the one that I'm writing on comes out, because there's just drones galore. It's a thing now.
Jeremy and I just wrote one where there's a drone son too.
Yeah, it's going to be 2020 is going to trump those. I don't like that word, Trump. 2020 is going to have more drones than 2019. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you can't take our words away from us, though. I mean, that's we had that word first.
Yeah, I still don't like it. Not anymore.
I hear you.
It's soured in my mouth. And then I also, like you guys already mentioned, the Clippy that says, it looks like you're writing an animated movie. Also, the insanely irrelevant and forced conflict near the end of a kid's movie cliche. All of those, again, I could have easily just copy and pasted into another script. So it's something to just keep in mind as I write of how to potentially kind of call back to those and reuse them.
Can I say just to go off that conflict thing though, the falling out moment in movies is the one thing that, since I've been writing for CinemaSins, that is one trope that has started to just drives me bananas.
The forced
because
conflict?
it's like every movie has to have that falling out moment, even if there's no reason to have it. And there's been so many I've worked on, I've had to figure out a way to send that a different way, and at some point you're just like, this is fucking stupid. Like, I don't know what else to say.
All the time. It's so frustrating. You mentioned the purple sweater, but the delivery of how I just really hate the purple sweater guy. That's it. That's the sin. Like, just the way that he delivered it.
Well,
was so
that
good.
was also, Jeremy nailed that. The reason I wrote that though is because I just wanted to say something else about him, and I kept trying to write stuff and nothing would work. So I just finally wrote purple sweater guy. That's a sin.
Yeah, which I love, because I'm like, oh my God, what if I just did that? Like, that's it. That's a sin. Just this. But the one that I got the most laughs on was that this teardrop is totally fake. You can see that it's CGI. This is good.
That was definitely Chris. It was good stuff. I will say also, Chris and I both had, we both were concerned about where he was about to stick that thermometer. We both wrote basically the exact same sin for
That's
that
amazing.
one. Because he's clearly facing him. So it's like, where's that thermometer going, man?
Yeah, it's good stuff. Very well done. Very well done indeed. Let's go on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to tell a story from putting together the content from last week, maybe a Google search, some strange research, the Google image search for cloaca, whatever it might be.
Don't do it.
So what do you got?
I'll go first.
I was going to say we should let Jonathan go last because he's the only one that wrote this week. So Danae, you didn't think of anything? Yeah, I don't really have anything either. I mean, I did write on the Archer script, and I decided I'll talk about a sin that got cut. Not because it should have gotten cut. It wasn't a great sin necessarily, but it is a story from my own life. He says obrigado at the beginning when he's speaking Portuguese as thank you, which is, thank you in Portuguese. And I always thought the word for thank you in Portuguese was obrigada, but apparently that's how you say thank you if you're a woman. And so when I visited Portuguese, I apparently was identifying as a woman every time I thanked somebody. So it was kind of one of those things in my own life where it was like, and so I tried to make the sin about gender constructs and the idea that, we shouldn't have words that are gendered. And it didn't work. It was a little too complex and messy. So, but anyhow, that was one of those realization moments in your life where you're like, oh, so I was using the wrong word.
That's fun. Portuguese it's like very similar to Spanish, right?
There are a lot of similarities. Definitely comes from the same family, but there are also a lot of differences.
Because I took Spanish in high school, and there's not really a Spanish name for Jonathan. So, because, you have to have your Spanish name if you're in class, or French name, whatever language you took. There's not really a Spanish name for Jonathan. So what my teacher did was she took Juanita and turned it into Juanito.
Oh.
Okay.
But so you better believe everybody fucking called me Juanita.
Okay, I was Juanita
because I was in high school.
In Spanish class because there's no Jennifer. It was just, and I had to be Juanita as well.
Oh, we were both Juanitas.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wait, your name's Jennifer? Did I know that?
Well, my first name is Jennifer. My middle name is Danae. I've been going by Danae since I graduated high school. I just ready to kind of shed all the bullshit that happened my whole life leading up to the moment where I was free to be myself. Fuck everybody else. Woo, I'm on my
No,
not to be Danae.
you seem like a Danae. I like when people say that.
you.
Like, I mean, that's the only thing I've known. So why wouldn't you seem like a Danae? But I love when people say that. No, that fits you.
Yeah. So, but back then, I had to go off of Jennifer, and Juanita was.
Yeah, I remember that. There was because there was a Jennifer in our class, and she was Juanita, and I was Juanito, and both of us were lies.
My favorite thing during that trip to Portugal was that we had some local kids that we hung out with and played basketball, and they told us that the thing to say when like how Americans say cool, like that's cool, was fish. You just say fish. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went to the local movie theater there, and they, was like, hey, is there a, ticket to this movie? And they were like, yeah, it's at this time. And I'm like, fish. And she looked at me, and she was just like,
oh, no.
Are you from here? And I was like, no, I was just told that was cool. She was like, okay. And I still to this day don't know if it was like a bad word.
Like they were fucking with you?
Yeah, like they were messing with me.
Like you were talking about her vagina.
Look it up, man.
It's not.
Look it up right
it's
now.
not look upable. It's a slang thing. It would be. It would have to be.
You were saying something nasty.
You'd have to look up like the Portuguese version of Urban Dictionary or something, probably. So I tend to believe that I trust that they were correct, and she asked me that because I said it so confidently, and it was such a local thing that she was like, "Well, he must be from here." That's. I'm going to believe.
I'm sure
that.
she looked at you and said, "That is a Portuguese man."
Portuguesa.
Portugueso.
Yes, exactly. Okay. I think we're out to Jonathan now.
My keeping tabs was the whole stalactite thing. See?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great version. Yeah, that's a great one. Jonathan, what do you got?
So I kind of did I didn't use a lot of this, but I did a little bit of a dive into Scooby-Doo lore when I was working on the Scooby-Doo script. And then actually, after the video got released, I did even more because there was a comment, which I'll go ahead and mention that because I had that down as one of my comments. There was a comment from the KH fan 358, I believe. Why can't all dogs talk? This was explained by the creator of Scooby-Doo, who outright said Scooby-Doo is an alien, and the same can be assumed for Scrappy, who is widely disliked. And I didn't find anything about so I went back to the research I had done because I didn't remember anything about the creator, and I still couldn't find anything where the creator said that. But I found this really cool YouTube video. Have you guys ever heard of this, The Film Theorist? Have you ever watched any of their YouTube videos? I'd never heard of them before.
I've definitely heard of them. I just have not spent a lot of time watching it.
This was the only video I've seen of theirs, so I can't comment on any of the other ones. But this was a lot of fun. But it was called Scooby-Doo is an Alien with a question mark. But there was more to it than that. This guy, he went through and watched, and I couldn't find his name, the one that hosted this video. I don't know if there's multiple people that host these or he's the main one. I have no idea. But this was on the YouTube channel, The Film Theorist. It was called Scooby-Doo is an Alien. It was one they just did a few weeks ago because it was supposed to kind of tie in with the release of Scoob. But he went back and watched all 51 years worth of Scooby-Doo content, which is 14 series and 36 movies, because they've been doing direct-to-video movies for the last 25 years. They've been releasing a bunch of those. Even released a few in the 80s, which I wasn't even aware of. I found out through this that they did. But it was kind of just fun. I mean, he was just kind of going through it and trying to find the similarities and things like that. As far as the alien thing goes, there was one of the DTV movies that I haven't seen where they find out that there's this race called the Anunnaki, which is an alien race that inhabits animals. I couldn't really tell if they ever specifically said that's what Scooby was, but apparently that's who they kind of that's what the movie was about. And then I also found out there's this weird transition with the series that you have one timeline where none of the ghosts are real. And that's all of the TV series with the exception of 3 of them. So 11 of the TV series, none of the ghosts are real. Basically, all of the movies and then 3 of the TV series have actual supernatural elements involved. So it's really weird that the movies don't even follow what the TV shows did. We were talking about this, Chris and I talked about this too, because the whole Shaggy and Scooby feeling left out, that's very much a creation by the live action movies. That wasn't something that they did on the show. It was just weird stuff like that. But then he finally basically came along the idea that there's two different timelines, because he said there's way too much similarity to believe that all of the different creators behind each of the shows weren't at least trying to connect to previous stuff. And there's even this one weird thing where there are certain series and movies where Shaggy has a red shirt, and there are certain ones where he has a green shirt. And he even talked about the similarities in both of those type of universes. Like there was like these like two completely different universes. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm sure it's all bullshit, but it was really fun to watch. And it was just really cool to see what this guy came up with, because it is kind of weird, you know, like even though you have different writers, different producers, different people involved, but there's so many similarities. Like people clearly did their research before they made this new version. Yeah. And and went their way. So I don't know. That was just kind of fun research I did. But I would highly recommend watching that also if you like Scooby-Doo. It's The Film Theorist, and it's called Scooby-Doo as an Alien. They apparently just released one on Rick and Morty I was thinking about watching too, but I hadn't watched it yet.
Maybe I'll check that out. I have heard good things about the channel, so that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of YouTube outside of like what we do. We just do so much on YouTube. That's just not something I think about. But
yeah,
dude,
there's some good stuff on there.
I found your word. I've been looking this whole time.
What?
Yeah,
your Portuguese slang word. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
Okay, it means butt. Just kidding.
No, it doesn't.
It's a way of saying cool. It's you spell it Fixe.
Yes.
And it says it means like it's a mind, like it's like legal, it's legit, it's
thank you,
chill.
Yes, they
so you think like Brooklyn 9 episodes there, like when they do the translation, it's like fish 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 fish.
Yeah, fish 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 fish.
But there's a female and a male one. You were using the male one to the female, so that might have been why she was confused. It's a totally different word. It's Porreiro. Oh, no. That's another word entirely that means the same thing. You either put an O or an A based on male or female for that one.
But fish is not gendered.
Nope, it's not. I was reading that incorrectly.
Well, thank you, Portuguese friends, for telling me the truth. And I feel like I was correct in my assumption that she was just like, nobody says that word unless they're from here kind of thing. So, yeah.
It's like, it's for cool, a fresh quality, or like legit.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, thank you, Danae. I'm glad you were able to look that up. The internet's an amazing place. Speaking of which,
Googler.
Speaking of which, the internet being an amazing place, let's go into the YouTube comment section, shall we?
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to take a look at a comment from this week's videos, something we wanted to pull out. I think I'll go first on this one. This one comes from the Scooby-Doo 2 video, and it's the format is the Jeremy : and then response me : format. And I always love that everything comes from Jeremy because, it's his voice. But it says, Jeremy, 100 sins for bunny joke. Me, I really like the bunny and appreciate it because it can't be easy for a dog to draw. Nicely done, Jackson. Nicely done. That one made me laugh. What about you, Jonathan?
I just had a couple that I just wanted to point out because I totally agree with these. For Scooby-Doo also, Vastotel said, I feel with all the Scooby-Doo movies all these years, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island was probably the best of the series, and that is 100% correct.
Okay.
If you're in the mood to check out with your kid a Scooby-Doo movie, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is so good. And it was kind of, I think it was the first one, like I think it was around 2000 or so when they started this new string of DTV movies. I think they also showed them like on ABC Family or Cartoon Network or something, and they were doing about one a year for like the last like 20 years. I don't know if they quite do one a year anymore. I know they've still done a few recently. They had one with Batman recently.
Wow.
And John Cena was in one recently. I don't know. Anyways, but Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, yes, I highly recommend. And then somebody else mentioned Matthew Lillard was criminally underused in everything he's in, which Aaron already agreed with.
100% agree.
As well. So, yeah, that was the stuff I found.
Today?
This week, I went straight to the defending the new narrator on CinemaSins comments because I really enjoyed them. So the first one that I'm going to read, I'm reading for kind of two reasons. One, Ashton Merritt, whomever you may be, clearly follows Jeremy on Twitter as well. And Jeremy we actually get emails semi-regularly about people who appreciate his open conversation about anxiety, and just the importance of mental health, talking to counselor, things like that. And we get to read those emails. We kind of share them around as to the team, and it's really interesting. I think the guys are often surprised that by being themselves and, putting out content, that the entertainment aspect of it is really healthy for people. So getting the positive feedback, people who say things like, thank you for talking about your anxiety. It's important for me to hear someone talk about that. I've been able to, get help myself, or, hey, your videos got me through a hard time. There's just this really awesome supportive fan base. And I'm assuming Ashton's one of those people. Who said, Jeremy had a legit clawing at the floor panic attack a week or so ago, easing his workload so he can make more self-care. He can take more self-care. Knowing you buttholes would complain about it, any little change is courage and compassion personified. So keep it up, Sins team. And I really loved that because it's just a glimpse inside the behind the scenes stuff that a true fan really kind of is a part of. And then also Avery, the Cuban American, said, I like this new narrator and I understand why Jeremy is stepping away. It can be stressful and exhausting narrating different channels and he deserves a break. So again, I just appreciate you guys being in the comments, kind of just seeing the bigger picture. So those are the comments I wanted to highlight today. And
I appreciate it as well. it's very, very nice. I do appreciate it. All right, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're each going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we've seen recently. Danae, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I'm going to talk about a game. I'm
Why
not
do you
sad
sound
about
so
it.
disappointed about that? You love games.
Well, I do, but I feel like a broken record a bit. But I found this game. I found it really intriguing, and I like it, and I want to keep playing it, but it's also making me mad at the same time because you have
I have
only...
a question, though. Can I ask you a question? How do you keep playing different games every week? Because don't you have to finish the game first and then not necessarily?
No.
Let me introduce you to Danae.
Okay.
She drops things really
I'm
easily.
impressed. I'm like, she must finish these quickly and then have to jump on to the next one.
No. I usually, when I play a game, there's a few things that will keep me interested in it long enough that it lands on my phone for a really long time. The games that I have on my phone still that have been around for years are Brawl Stars, Clash Royale, Polytopia, Solitaire, Decked Out. And those are the only 4, I think, that haven't been deleted.
Gotcha. So those are ones you just go back to every now and then?
Yeah. I check in with Brawl Stars and Clash Royale every single day. Cool. And I'll play a round or two just at some point throughout the day. I used to be really into Clash Royale because I was a clan leader and I managed all the stuff to make sure our clan was successful.
Different clan, Jonathan.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like...
I was like, what is this game?
With a C. The letter C.
And then Brawl Stars I play every day, but I'm not really involved in like the group. Although the group is called CinemaSins, so if you play Brawl Stars and you want to join, you're welcome to.
Oh, interesting.
And Polytopia I play just about every other day because it's just a super relaxed game. And I've talked about those games before. But then what I'll do is I'll kind of get this itch to try something new. And so I'll go and just read comments and just pull ones that are recommended to me. And this one was one that was recommended to me by Google Play, not from a person. It's called 7 Days! So I guess that's important. And this is a really interesting...
7 days!
This is an interesting gameplay in that you essentially are almost like on your phone and it's kind of through text messages. And so it's a mystery. It's a story driven where you have died and you're trying to figure out why you died. And you're meeting other characters and you're making decisions kind of like, what were those books that my grandma used to read to me? Choose your own adventure stuff. Like where, skip to page 42 and then you find out that you were crushed by a boulder. Similar kind of concept here where you make different decisions and the people that you're interacting with are either trusting you more or being more suspicious of you. And you're trying to solve a mystery while everyone else in the story, these non-player characters, are solving theirs. And sometimes it leads to your death. And then the story resets and you're like, okay, you did something that you did something wrong. Let's try that again. It's super intriguing. I want to know what happens, but you can only make so many choices until you have to have more tickets or more tokens to continue to play. So then you've got to watch an ad. Now, I am thankful that they're not invasive ads. They're not really like shoving them down my throat type of a thing. So, but ultimately it led to me putting it down for about a week. And then I picked it up the other day and it said, get more tokens. I clicked on it and it does that thing where you can download another game and reach a certain goal on another game. And then you'll get tokens for this one. So that led to me downloading another game I'll talk about another time. And I'm just trying to get to level 10 so I can go back and decide if I'm going to shoot somebody or not.
Can you not purchase 7 days? Is it not a purchase one?
I'm sure I can buy tickets. Like if I wanted to get 1,500 tickets, is only $2.
Oh, but you can't just purchase the game itself. It's not one of those.
It's decision based.
Yeah.
And honestly, I actually think I might send $2 their way because it's an interesting concept and I don't mind it. But it is limiting in that your screen is as if you're texting someone on your phone. So it's not fast paced. It's not fast moving. You're just kind of getting a series of texts and pictures and images as you make your decision. So like right now I have 2 text messages or 2 choices I can send to this game and that will determine which path I take. So yeah. Again, it's called 7 Days! And I think I actually would recommend it.
I'm going to jump off of that one and talk about something that isn't my Beyond the Sin. So I'm going to get a bonus one in here because you reminded me of the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt's new interactive movie on Netflix, which I did. And
how does that work?
It is so fun. Now, I am a sucker for this. Black Mirror did an interactive episode on Netflix a while back too, and I really loved it. I thought it was well done, but I wasn't sure it would work outside of a meta format like the Black Mirror episode was, because the Black Mirror episode was kind of about the technology itself that we were using. I'm convinced this could work. I'm convinced that this could be a really fun thing that will broaden 2 different genres. What makes it work is the fact that Netflix has the technology right. So when you're making a choice, the visual is still happening. There's no stoppage. The movie never stops. So, and if it gets to the end of there's a timer that happens that you can make your choice of which way to go. If it gets to the end of the timer, it just automatically chooses one for you and just keeps going. So there is no start and stop to this interactive process. And it's really well done. And what I loved about this Kimmy Schmidt episode, first of all, it's hilarious because that show is really funny and the writers there, Tina Fey and the gang, do such a great job with those characters. What I loved about it was that you really were in a choose your own adventure. The choices you made really did impact the show or movie that you ended up seeing. And because I am who I am, went back and played every single possible choice, which by the way, there are a lot. And it's just, I was really impressed with the branching narratives and how they were different. And
there is something about that, isn't there? There was a video game, Becoming Human, I think is the name of it, that does the same thing. You've got all these branches based on what you do. And I watch people play that game on Twitch because I find it fascinating that you can play the same game over and over again and it continually changes.
There's one moment in this where she makes a phone call and gets put on hold, and it actually has the choices. Press 1 if you would like this and this. Press 2 if you would like this. And press 4 is if you would like a holiday treat from our taco, mascot or whatever. And so you press 4, and he sings the 12 Days of Christmas, but with Mexican food in the places. And you get through about the 4th or 5th day of Christmas, and it says, if you would like to, go back to the main menu, press this. If you'd like to keep listening, press this. If you listen to the whole song, you get an extra Easter egg kind of thing that happens. I don't know. There's just stuff like that I find really fun.
I haven't done the Black Mirror one. I just had a question. I haven't done the Black Mirror one, so I don't know much about this. But so did the selections just come up on the screen and you use your remote?
Correct. They come up on the bottom of the screen. You use your remote. Or I've never played them on a phone or a tablet or anything like that. I imagine they're touch screen on those. I don't know. But on the television, you just use your remote to select your choice of the 2 or 3 or 4 choices. The other thing that's really interesting is there are different jokes in the same scenes if you do it multiple times. So the type of jokes that they tell you sometimes have to do with choices you've made in the past. even though it's the exact same scene that's happening, like the punchline is different. I loved it. I had a great time with it. Oh, cool. And it's, anyways, I feel like I've taken up my allotment of time, even though I had something else I wanted to.
Go do your other thing.
The other thing will be easy to talk about. I watched the first episode of Ultimate Tag because I'm a reality show sucker. It is so bad. It is purposefully very American Gladiators, where all the taggers have these stupid cheesy nicknames and they do these stupid intro segments. It's very 80s in a lot of way, which I know is purposeful. It's a purposeful aesthetic, but the problem is the game itself isn't interesting enough for that stuff just to be, like I can laugh that stuff off and it can be whatever it wants to be, but if I'm not into the competition part, I'm not going to stick around. And
it looked like American Gladiators or some BS
it is.
Like that.
It is. Other than it's basically tag, flag football style, where you have to peel the thing off to get tagged. And I don't know. I didn't find the competition part all that interesting, so I'm not going to be sticking with it. But I did want to mention that I watched it.
Well, and I know they didn't plan on this, but God, what a horrible time for that to have to be released. Like at a time where people do not want to be touched. And you got to show all about like that's how you win.
I will tell you though, during this time, I am so much more apt to watch stupid, cheesy reality television, comedy stuff. I don't want to watch dramas right now. I gave up on Killing Eve. I stopped watching Killing Eve, and I'm just not in the mood for this. So
it depends on the type of show, but I will say that like the only shows that like I make sure to watch when they're on is Masked Singer and then this Who Wants to Be a Millionaire new run of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with spoilers, because that is something that like I don't want to have to avoid Twitter for a week because somebody might spoil Masked Singer. Although I will say I have a theory though. I have an idea though, because Masked Singer is recorded well in advance.
Yeah, obviously.
So I don't know how they keep stuff secret, but like I will say, like I've noticed on threads that people were guessing who a lot of these people were very early on and were dead on. Like the 3 that got announced on the finale, I had seen those guessed by just thousands of people on Twitter like months ago.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if like that's inside information. Like somebody was at a taping. I don't know.
Yeah,
anyways,
it could be.
That doesn't matter. It's a silly show, whatever. But I just like you. That's kind of what I want to watch right now.
Yeah, I'm totally digging reality television right now. I'm thinking about getting into like the cooking shows I've never done, like Top Chef, those kind of things. I'm thinking about starting those.
I've never gotten into any cooking shows.
Yeah, me either.
Maybe I will give one of those a chance.
What about you? What about you, Jonathan? What do you got?
Well, I will say I have kind of a quick one that's not mine. I just wanted to say that I watched the first episode of Upload, which was a recommendation of yours.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Aaron's a few weeks ago, and I enjoyed it. I'm definitely gonna watch the rest of it. It might be one I watch like weekly or something. I don't know that I'm like I gotta watch them all right now. But yeah, no, I thought it was funny, and I like Robbie Amell plays the lead guy. He's the brother of Stephen Amell, who plays Arrow, and I think he's like perfect fit for that. And I love the contrast that in the first episode, at least, of like the real life where most of these people are struggling to make ends meet and stuff, like the woman that works in the operator or whatever, but then people who are dead have like this life of luxury and they have access to like food and stuff that they can't even really enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the show gets more into that, but I found that super interesting.
It is very interesting. The show definitely gets into it.
But the one I'm gonna, oddly enough, talking about not watching dramas, but I did watch the first episode, Starz series that started last week called Hightown, and like I said, I've only seen the first episode, but man, I loved it so much. I am really looking forward to seeing where this series goes. It is a crime series. It's basically a murder mystery that takes place on Cape Cod. The show itself is created by Rebecca Perry Cutter, which is pretty cool because there's not a lot of female-led crime shows. That's typically been very much a male-dominated area, like your Dick Wolves and stuff like that. You can tell, like this show has a very different perspective than I've seen on most of these crime series. The main character is played by Monica Raymond, who apparently has been in a lot of things, but I just haven't watched anything she's been in. Like she's in Chicago Fire for a while. That's just a show I've never watched. She's awesome. She plays what happens is she plays what is it she does? She works for the National Marine Fisheries Service. She's an agent in that area that goes and makes sure that people aren't, fishing illegally or whatever. And she's also the show starts off. They're having and I guess there's a place around Cape Cod called Provincetown. They call it P-Town in the show. And they're having a carnival celebration that weekend, like when the show starts. And she's very much into going into town, and she's partying and picking up girls. She's a gay character in the show, and just having a really good time. And she ends up stumbling upon a dead body that's washed up on shore. That like the morning after she's had like a really crazy night, and then that's kind of where everything takes off, and then you start getting in, and then they introduce a couple of another characters. James Badge Dale plays an FBI agent, a DEA guy. He's you might remember him from 24. He was also in Iron Man 3. He was like Guy Pearce's henchman in Iron Man 3. He's a really good actor that doesn't get used a lot. Amari Lasco, I don't know if I said that name right, from Prison Break and telenovela. He plays like a drug kingpin that's in jail. So there's really good actors in this, and I don't know where it's going to go, but it's just such an interesting setup. It's so interesting having a crime show from a female perspective, because it's just not something you get, unfortunately. And so I'm really curious to see where it goes. And I will say, like Aaron does, it is on cable, it is on Stars. It's very sexual. There's a lot of violence. There's drugs, and it's not a kid's show. Let's put it that way. It's very adult. Yeah. So if that's, doesn't really sound up your alley, but it's no, I really like it. If you like to watch crime shows and you like to find crime shows that are a little different, I think this should be right up your alley. So it's called Hightown, and it airs on Sundays, of course, on Stars.
Fish.
Yeah.
Fish.
Okay, bye.
That's going to do it for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. Hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinspod@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I can still hear you, Hughes.
So you guys have been recording 15 minutes of outtakes so we can get right to the show? Is that right?
Oh, it's super not interesting stuff. We're talking about work.
I always think of it as when you do you'll have like 5 thoughts in a row on Slack.
When I text and then I keep texting.
Yes.
I do that to my husband. It drives him insane. It's just...
no, it's fine. I'm not complaining.
How I communicate. I'll be like, oh, and then this. And then this.
No,
it's
very Danae, because that's how, when I talk to you, that's how your mind goes, I can tell.
Yeah, but if you think about it from notification, and a ding, 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 and it's not really anything important, it's just me going, fork emojis. I just wanted to talk to you guys about a very serious problem that I have coming up around July 15th.
All right, let's do it.
All right, the new... Google phone comes out, and I will continue with the struggle of, do I switch phones or do I stay with the Note 9? And I just want to let you know I'm going to take a couple months off of work just to... Camera is my number one thing for a phone. Phone is the 12th thing on my... Can it call someone? I don't care.
Danae, so you're looking at the 4A?
I don't know.
Because the 5 won't come out until the end of the year.
Okay, well then I guess I'm taking off from July until the end of the year. Every once in a while I'll go onto this app called Imager, and I'll just glance through random memes, just randomness, and I just happen to look. I clicked on it while we're talking, and I looked down, and there's this insane video of this little girl being pulled away by a monkey. In the streets of this monkey runs up, pulls this kid off of a bench, grabs her by the arm, and just starts yanking her down the road.
That's no good.
That's awful. Yeah, monkeys are terrible, by the way. Monkeys are not cool.
I just don't understand.
They're the worst. I had a.
Oh my God! The monkey is riding a scooter. The monkey is riding a scooter.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Danae. Good job. Wait. She joined on her phone. Yep. And now there's echoes all over.
I apologize. Okay. Now I can send this to you. Hi. Hello.
Danae.
Yeah. Yes. You have to see this fucking monkey.
I see.
Hey, what better thing to do than be attached to a whole bunch of electronic devices during a massive storm? Let's do this show. Let's die for what we love.
FYI, it's just me and my daughter, so I cannot promise that she won't come in here at some point. When Chris and I were recording the mini pod the other day, I told her to come in if it was an emergency, and she came in. So I was like, oh, she must need something. And she was just like, so do we really have to do school for 2 hours today? I'm like, this is not important. Like, go away. We will talk later.
I had to have a conversation with Justin after last week's invasion.
Yeah, that was interesting.
He just walked up like right in the middle of the show, and he's literally standing at the door like this. I'm like, yeah. He's just staring with this weird smile on his face, and finally I just kept looking over, and he's just keeps staring, and he's making these hand gestures, and so then of course I had to stop and be like, yes, and he's like, are you recording? Clearly, why else would I be in this closet staring at my computer talking into a microphone?
And Jonathan and I both have a script due today too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to be done today.
All right, let me get us started on the bony pod.
The mini pod? Okay.
It's a bony pod, Danae.
Oh God, why are we calling them bony pods?
Because they're bonus pods. And it's
Can we call them podnesses? Podness. Dumb.
Podness Everdeen. Yeah, you get to do a Rick and Morty this week.
Yay. No. I super glued my finger to a magnet earlier this week.
Yeah, nicely done.
I saw you tweet about that.
You know, there's a real meta thing happening there with two different things that stick in different ways. Combining.
But you did that on purpose, right? I mean, how do you not do that on purpose?
Yeah, so I watched this, movie, and I wanted to climb my refrigerator, so I just glued magnets to my finger to try to do this sort of scaling thing.
I thought you were like, I want to pretend like my hands are metal. I want to pretend like my hands are metal. All right, let's go. LETSGO. LETSGO.